Joining me now, Fox and Friends weekend co-host Pete Hegseth. Pete, great to see you, my friend. Jill Biden is surprised that the president had some opposition, that events happened in life. You know, he's only been in public office, you know, for 40 or 50 years or whatever it is, Pete. But, you know, that statement by her, you know, maybe it's a toss-away statement, but to me it suggests a kind of resignation and really like a reality detachment that has just characterized this administration.
You're right. She was also oddly talking in the past tense, as if it's all been written. I don't think it was a passing statement. I think she's intentionally trying to muck up the waters and say this is unprecedented, the types of things we've seen, the crises we've faced, and we've done the best we can as Joe's coming home from another failed overseas trip. I mean, I don't recall Dolly Madison saying, you know, James Madison's second term would have been great if the British hadn't invaded in that War of 1812. He had so many things he wanted to get done. Like, welcome to being the leader of the free world. And frankly, most of the crises that he's faced, to include inflation, crime, the debacle in Afghanistan, are a product of decisions that he made. A trip to Saudi Arabia to beg the Saudis for oil, the product of a decision this administration made not to explore continually domestically. So they're going to Putin's price hike. They said they'd prevent that war. They didn't. Right. So as a result, she can say what she wants. It's not going to affect that 40% rating. Maybe she can pat him on the back and tell him everything's going to be okay, though, after the trip. That's the function she serves. The
excuse-making, Pete, I think it's the repeated excuse-making that people have gotten so tired of, and it's why they're expressing, like, grassroots-level outrage. I want to talk about this. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, he's repeatedly criticized by the left for his education policies, but voters appear to favor much of what he's been saying and doing. An NBC report says the governor's education message is winning in battleground states, citing a poll that found voters by a 32-point margin. And this is a teachers union poll, by the way, said they were more likely to vote for candidates who believe public schools should focus, believe it or not, less on teaching race and more on core subjects. Pete, you know, you've written about this extensively. I really think outside of the economy and maybe even in front of it, this is the issue that will define this moment, because people have said what's going on in schools is it's almost representative of every other issue we're debating in America right now. And look, DeSantis gets slammed by the left all the time, but when people get asked the question, they say we like what he's saying, Pete.
You're right. The more he gets slammed, the more you know he's over the target. This is not a partisan issue. This is simply a recognition that schools should serve a function of teaching kids how to think, not what to think. Thankfully, there's a common sense reservoir amongst parents that they believe the same thing, too, across the spectrum. The support of public schools, Pew found recently, is at one of its all-time lows, especially amongst Republicans and independents. They don't trust government schools. And yet in the White House, Jill Biden is speaking at the AFT convention just a couple of days ago. So this White House totally locked in on the failed policies of the teachers unions. Someone like DeSantis, like what we see in Maine and Arizona, is pushing for choice for parents. It's common sense. It should be a winner, and it will be a winner if Republicans have the courage to run on it.
The reservoir of common sense. I love that phrase, Pete. This is California. Got to get your take on this. This is Governor Gavin Newsom, his response when asked about Los Angeles District Attorney George Gascon's job performance. Listen to this.
But is he doing a good job?
I don't know enough about the job he's done. I'm deeply concerned about the criticism, and I'll leave the more objective analysis of his job to locals that will have the opportunity to make that determination.
Why would the governor of California know how things are going with George Gascon? But how about this? The governor of California can buy an ad in Florida telling people to come to California, but he doesn't even know what's happening in L.A., Pete. That seems like a weird invitation, doesn't it?
It's staggering. It's staggering. And it's such a dodge, and he'll get away with it because the media will cover for him. He's claiming he doesn't know what's going on in his drug-infested, crime-ridden city of Los Angeles as an attorney general, or as a DA who he has appointed in the past in San Francisco, is running that particular city. He knows enough about COVID, though, to be okay with upcoming potential indoor mask mandates returning to Los Angeles under his watch. So we just talked about passing the buck from Jill Biden. Maybe Gavin Newsom's taking a page out of the playbook and saying, if I want to run for president, I got to wash my hands of this and pretend like I don't know. The reality is the biggest city in your state, you ought to have your arms around it, and he doesn't. But he supports Gascon. He supports these policies because he doesn't have a choice. He's giving into the far left of his party.
Pete, you mentioned something. You mentioned the mask mandates coming back in Los Angeles potentially. How big of a reality is that? I mean, talk about, get bigger than Los Angeles for a second here, around the country as we get into the fall. How concerned are you that these same mandate policies are going to come back?
It's all possible. I mean, they're incredibly wedded to the virtue signaling of the mask anytime metrics go up. This is, as most of them are double vaxxed and quadruple boosted, and yet still able to get COVID, and thankfully most recovering from it. I think this will remind voters that there's only one party that's ready to put you back in a mask based on whatever metrics they determine, based on a minimal risk threshold that you don't share. It's not going to be the Republicans. It wouldn't be Trump. It wouldn't be DeSantis. It wouldn't be any number of candidates, but it would be a Gavin Newsom, and it certainly would be a Biden or a Harris. I think that becomes fertile ground for contrast in 2024.
Pete, I got to tell you, coming from Linwood, Minnesota to New York City this week, the contrast in the mask wearing, I feel like there's just something up coming this fall. I don't know what it's going to be, but I share your concern about it. Pete, we got to leave it there. Good to see you, brother. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Brian.
All right.